You have been told your entire life that consistency is the key to success. That if you just stick with one thing long enough, master it, build expertise, you will eventually win. But here is what no one prepared you for. What happens when your brain is not wired to stay interested that long? What happens when the learning curve flattens and suddenly the thing that once lit you up now feels like you are dragging yourself through mud? You start to wonder if something is wrong with you, if you are just undisciplined, if you are destined to be the person who starts everything and finishes nothing. But what if the problem is not you at all? What if the problem is that you have been trying to build a career using a model designed for a completely different kind of mind? If this kind of psychology-based content helps you understand yourself better, subscribe now, because this channel is for people who want to decode what is really happening inside their mind. Let me paint you a picture. You start something new, a job, a project, a skill, and at first it is electric. You are learning fast, making connections other people miss, solving problems in ways that surprise even you. You feel alive, competent, excited. But then, 6 months in, maybe a year, something shifts. The learning curve starts to flatten. The tasks become repetitive. The dopamine fades. And suddenly showing up feels like forcing yourself to care about something that no longer moves you. So you start looking around. You wonder if maybe you chose the wrong path. You start researching other fields, other roles, other possibilities. And the guilt creeps in. Because society has told you that this is a red flag, that wanting to move on means you are flaky. That real success requires you to push through the boredom and stay loyal to the path. So you stay, you white knuckle it. You try to convince yourself that this is just a phase, that motivation will come back, but it does not. And now you are not just bored, you're starting to resent the thing you once loved. You're starting to resent yourself. Here's what you need to understand. The traditional career model, the one built on deep specialization, long-term mastery, and climbing a single ladder, was not designed with your brain in mind. It was designed for people whose dopamine systems reward repetition and refinement, people who feel satisfied by becoming the best at one narrow thing, people whose nervous systems do not treat novelty like oxygen. But your brain may be wired differently. You may be what psychologists sometimes refer to as a high learning rate individual. Someone whose cognitive reward system is most active during the acquisition phase, not the mastery phase, not the maintenance phase, the learning phase. And once that phase ends, your brain does not just lose interest. It starts to interpret the lack of novelty as a threat, as stagnation, as a signal that you are no longer growing. And when your brain believes you are not growing, it pulls the plug on motivation. Not because you are lazy, but because it is trying to protect you from wasting energy on something it no longer perceives as useful for your survival or evolution. This is not a character flaw. This is a feature of how your mind processes challenge and reward. Research in neuropsychology suggests that people with high learning rates often have dopaminergic systems that spike during complexity and novelty, but flatten dramatically during repetition. Your brain was not designed to find satisfaction in doing the same thing well forever. It was designed to find satisfaction in figuring things out, then moving on to the next puzzle. And when you force that kind of brain into a model that punishes movement and rewards loyalty to a single path, you do not just lose motivation. You start to lose your sense of self. So let me reframe this for you. You are not someone who cannot commit. You are someone whose intelligence is expressed through adaptability, pattern recognition across domains, and the ability to learn new systems faster than most people can even orient to them. You are not scattered. You are a systems thinker who gets bored once the system becomes obvious. You are not undisciplined. You are someone whose discipline is tied to challenge, not to routine. And the reason the traditional career model feels suffocating is not because you are doing it wrong. It is because the model itself is mismatched to the way your brain is built to operate. Now, once you understand that, the question becomes, what do you do with it? Because the world still expects you to have a clear answer when someone asks what you do. The world still rewards specialists. The world still looks at your resume and wants to see a clean, linear story. So how do you build a career that actually works for a brain like yours without constantly feeling like you are failing at life? First, stop trying to find the one thing. Seriously, let that go. The idea that you need to discover your singular passion and dedicate your life to it is a myth that works for some people and tortures others. If you are someone who lights up at the intersection of multiple interests, your career should reflect that, not suppress it. Instead of asking, what is my one thing? Start asking, what is my through line? What is the common thread that runs through all the things I have been drawn to? Because here is what happens when you look closely. The interests may change, but the underlying skill set often does not. You may have worked in marketing, then product design, then content strategy, but the through line is communication and systems thinking. You may have explored teaching, consulting, and entrepreneurship, but the through line is helping people see what they could not see before. Once you identify that through line, you stop seeing your path as chaotic. You start seeing it as a portfolio, and a portfolio-based career is one of the most powerful models for a fast learner. Second, build your career around learning cycles, not job titles. If you know your engagement has a shelf life, plan for it. Give yourself permission to move through roles in 2 to 3 year cycles, not because you are quitting, but because you are completing. You learned what you came to learn. You contributed what you came to contribute, and now it is time to apply that learning somewhere new. This does not make you unreliable. It makes you someone who understands how to extract maximum value from experience without burning out from boredom. The key is to be intentional. Do not just leave because you are bored. Leave because you have learned the system, and the next environment will let you apply that learning at a higher level. That is not job hopping. That is strategic skill compounding. Third, become a translator, not just a specialist. One of the most valuable and underrated career paths for fast learners is becoming the person who can move between domains and connect the dots. You are the person who worked in tech and then moved into education and can now design learning platforms that actually work. You are the person who understands both finance and creative strategy and can help businesses communicate complexity in ways people actually care about. The world does not just need deep specialists, it needs people who can translate between silos. And that kind of value is only possible if you have moved around. Your so-called lack of focus is actually your competitive advantage. You just need to frame it that way. Fourth, create a skill stack, not a single skill. Instead of trying to become the best in the world at one thing, aim to become very good at 3 to 5 complementary skills that almost no one else has in combination. Maybe you are good at data analysis, visual storytelling, and behavioral psychology. Individually, those skills are common. Together, they make you irreplaceable in certain contexts. A skill stack lets you stay interesting to yourself because you are always integrating new layers, and it makes you resilient because if one industry shifts, you have multiple entry points into others. You are not building a ladder, you're building a web. Fifth, redefine mastery. You have been taught that mastery means becoming the best at one thing, but for a fast learner, mastery may mean something different. It may mean becoming excellent at learning itself, at pattern recognition, at synthesizing information across contexts, at moving into a new environment, and figuring out what matters faster than anyone else. That is a form of mastery, and it is one that becomes more valuable, not less, in a world that is changing faster than any single skill set can keep up with. So stop measuring yourself by how long you have stayed. Start measuring yourself by how much you have learned, how fast you adapted, and how effectively you applied it. And here is the last thing I want you to hear. You're not broken for wanting more than one thing. You are not doomed to a life of half-finished projects and unfulfilled potential. You just need to stop trying to fit your brain into someone else's blueprint. The people who told you to pick one thing and stick with it forever were not wrong. They were just talking to a different kind of mind. Your mind works differently. And when you build a career that respects that, when you give yourself permission to move, to learn, to integrate, to evolve, you do not lose depth. You gain range, and range in a complex world is what makes you not just employable, but essential. So if you have spent years feeling guilty for not being able to stay still, I need you to hear this. You are not the problem. The model was. And now that you know that, you get to build something better. Something that actually fits, not because it is easier, but because it is yours.